if one surrenders to Krishna,
Yes.
one enters God's kingdom.
Perfect. Yes. Even at the last moment, if we have this attitude of surrender, right? Arjuna was asking towards the end, how does a person in Krishna consciousness behaves? How does he walk? How does he talk? Like that. So then Krishna started explaining towards the end all the attributes and qualities, and then in the end he says, ultimately, even if somebody gets situated in this position, even at the final moment of death, he can return back to God. Yes. Anything else?
Also spoke about the one should feel that, do away with the false ego and have the real ego, that I am the servant, like, Krishna, we are the servant of him.
That's the real ego.
That's the real ego. And you also spoke about how devotees are Atmaram, like how Krishna is Atmaraman, where we see the hand of the Lord in everything what we do. In every activity, we see Lord Krishna's hand.
Yeah, we spoke extensively on the Atmaram.
Atmaram, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Even I didn't remember that. Thank you.
We are attentive, that means.
Nice, nice. Okay. Anybody else? Any other point?
A person in Krishna consciousness gives up all ego of achievements and upadhis. I think, yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam, Tat Paratvena Nirmala, Rishikena Rishikesham, Sevana Muktam. All the false identification, right? I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm such and such, right? So all these are designations, false designations. It's not that they are not real or they don't exist, but yeah, I mean, the bodies itself are not ours. So what to speak of the designations associated with the body? Yeah, great. So should we start with the third chapter? Anyone has any other points to share?
I think there's one point that all senses must be engaged in Krishna consciousness, and even if one is roaming, it can carry us away, and
Yes,
it can carry away a man's intelligence.
perfect. All right, great. So let's start the third chapter. So we'll read the first verse, and you can repeat after me. Arjuna Vacha
Arjuna Vacha
Jayasi Cheta Karmanaste
Jayasi Cheta Karmanaste
Matta Buddhir Janardana
Matta
Tat Kim Karmani Ghore Mam
Tatkim Karmani Gure Mam
Niyojasya Keshava. Arjuna Vacha
Arjuna Vacha
Jayasi Cheta Karmanaste
Jayasi Cheta Karmanaste
Matta Buddhir Janardana
Mata Buddhir Janardana
Tat Kim Karmani Ghore Mam
Tatkim Karmani Gure Mam
Niyojasya Keshava.
Niyojayasi Keshava.
Okay. Someone would like to read the translation?
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Arjun said, O Janardhan, O Keshava, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare? If you think that intelligence is better than physical work.
Yes. So, now what is the connection? Why is Arjuna asking this question? So, in 2.49, second chapter, verse 49, Krishna said, Durena hi avaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya, which means keep all abominable activities far distant by devotion service. So, this instruction basically confused Arjuna. On one side, Krishna is saying, fight. On the other side, Arjuna is taking the word buddhi yoga to literally mean, uh, you know, uh, intelligence. With intelligence, keep away all the abominable activity. So here he is asking, or Janardana Keshava, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work? So Arjuna is asking, if you want me to use my intelligence, And with Buddhi Yoga, avoid all the abominable activity. War is an abominable activity. So many people will die, will be killed, right? So what should I do? One side, towards the end, also Krishna is saying fight, and he's also saying this verse. So he's confused. So we'll read the purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, has very elaborately described the constitution of the soul in the previous chapter, and with a view to delivering his intimate friend Arjuna from the ocean of material grief. And the path of realization has been recommended Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness. Sometimes Krishna consciousness is misunderstood to be inertia, and one with such misunderstanding often withdraws to a secluded place to become fully Krishna conscious by chanting the holy name of Krishna, of Lord Krishna. But without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the holy name of Krishna in secluded place, where one may acquire only cheap adoration from innocent public. So Prabhupada is writing how sometimes people think, and this is a very very common notion also, where most of the people outside they would have, "Kyare, you know, these people who stay in the temple or who actually dedicate their life to be in the temple, they are all escapist. Somebody doing something spiritual, they'll think, oh, this guy is an escapist. He just wants to escape work and he wants to relax and enjoy on other people's money. That's why sadhu ban gaya. I mean, and we don't blame them because there are so many cheaters or examples like that outside where people are swindlers. They're trying to cheat the innocent public and basically trying to siphon their money, etc. So yes, I mean this has become one of the popular notions of people. But somebody who's genuinely dedicated his life to the path of Krishna consciousness and stays in a is associated with bona fide parampara. Those temples, they are actually there is more work than outside, right? And devotees are so heavily engaged in one sense, right? Even we cannot do that kind of work. It is physical, it is intellectual, all kinds of work is there. All kinds of services are there being performed. Right now, Rath Yatra is happening. Rath Yatra just happened, sorry, and Lord Jagannath is there in the temple in Juhu as well, and he's also sitting in the temple in Gundicha. So, just to tell you, Jagannath temple every single day, right? Okay, so I'll just describe the kitchen first. So there is the kitchen of Jagannath Puri temple, which is so humongous. It's almost like a football field, right? It's really huge, and inside that there are 756 pits of fire, chulas, right? And on each of such pit of fire, there is one big pot at the base, right? It's such a big pot that four of y'all can sit inside. It's so huge. So and then on top of it there is a second pot, third pot. I like that there is a layer of 7 and 8 pots, one after the other, ek ke upar ek, right? And like that there are 756 burners, and all of them their cooking happens at the same time. So 756 into 8, you can calculate. That is the amount of bhoga offered to the Lord, on a daily basis. So imagine the amount of, just the amount of work or the logistics is so huge, right? So the number of people cutting vegetables, the number of people, washing rice, for example, and the, amazing part is the pot which is at the bottom, the rice is not burned, and the top pot, the rice, whatever it is completely cooked. Normally, if we have like a big fire at the bottom should burn, and upar ko jana hi nahi chahiye, everything should be uncooked there. But everything is cooked. All 8 pots are cooked, right? And the entire town, the prasadam is distributed in the entire town. They have a Anand Bazaar also where you can actually go and purchase. So such amount of work, like huge scale. In fact, one of the yatras from ISKCON to Vrindavan, they were featured in Mega Kitchens, right? One of the shows in National Geographic, I think, right? So the amount of organizations and the skill that is required to run such a large operation is not small. So much of intelligence goes, so much of planning goes, so much of hard work and labor goes, and they are all, these are all voluntary services, right? So devotion or Krishna consciousness doesn't mean inertia. It is not sitting in one place and just, expecting people to, be attracted by you and, pay you something and you'll enjoy on that money. No, right? And a lot of people, they try to do that, and what happens is, it's basically they're trying to get some cheap adoration, and they're not really going to advance. Ekantika harer bhaktir utpat eva kevalam, right? If you try to do hari bhakti, or do Krishna consciousness alone, right? Some people, especially in the if you go to some yoga schools, or everyone is trying to meditate in such a way or show off that, oh, I won't even open my eyes, look, right? They'll try, even they want to, inside they are like, really wanting to open their eyes and look, but they'll still keep it really tightly shut because they know people are watching. Right? So yeah. So Krishna consciousness not for some cheap adoration, or it's not inertia. It's more work. In fact, uh, in Prabhupada's time, there was this devotee who had come, and he actually joined the yatra. Prabhupada was traveling to India, and this is a Western body devotee. He had joined between in one of the cities, and then he basically joined to learn about the Krishna consciousness movement, and he was kind of traveling with Prabhupada and his disciples. Prabhupada was touring India, to different places, different programs like that. So naturally, being with the devotees, he also got engaged in some services, and then basically, somebody complained to Prabhupada that this person is not chanting. So Prabhupada said, "Oh," so he called this person who was traveling with him. He said, if you have to travel with us, you should follow the morning program and chant also. Chanting is really important. You can live with us, if you chant nicely. So he said, but Prabhupada, I like to do service. Right? He thought, I'll do service and I can still travel without chanting. So Prabhupada said, no, you chant. So the devotee, this person said, okay, can I then not do service and just chant? So I said, okay, no problem. It's okay. You just chant, no worries. It's okay. You don't do service. So he was very happy. Okay, fine. I don't have to, put in some labor, but I will, just chant, and I can escape, some work like that. So then all the other disciples of Prabhupada, they looked at Prabhupada like, Prabhupada, and when this fellow left, he said, Prabhupada, you ask us to do so many services. You ask us to be engaged constantly. How come you told him, don't do any services, just chant? So Prabhupada explained, when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you are begging to Srimati Radharani, oh energy of the Lord, oh Hara, right? Oh Srimati Radharani, please engage me in Krishna's service. Will Radharani allow him to sit idle? Like that. So yeah, so Krishna consciousness or bhakti is not inertia, right? And therefore Arjuna also thought Krishna consciousness, Buddhi Yoga in intelligence, or intelligence in spiritual advancement of knowledge as something like retirement from active life. People think, "Arey, when we become old, then we can do this." Actually, Krishna consciousness is such an active life and so many things to do, right? You won't run out of things to do, right? And you can go on yatras, you can go on parikramas, and it requires a lot of physical strength. It requires, a lot of physical engagement as well as intellectual engagement. जब बूढ़े हो जाएंगे, you won't even able to relish prasad. Our teeth will be broken, right? And we won't be able to see nicely, or we won't be able to walk. So how will you do the yatras? How will you read scriptures? You need sharp intelligence to actually read and understand scriptures also, right? Not that anything against those who are already aged. Even I'm aged. Those who are aged, nothing against them. But the best is when you pick this in your. Actually, Prahlad Maharaj says from the age of 5, one should be trained in Krishna consciousness, because that's the time where we pick up things very, very quickly. So, in other words, he wanted to skillfully avoid fighting by using. Sorry, I missed the line. Yeah. So, as something like retirement from active life and practice of penance. Oops. Arjuna also thought of Krishna consciousness, Buddhi Yoga, or intelligence and spiritual advancement of knowledge as something like retirement from active life and practice of penance and austerity at a secluded place. Right? In other words, he wanted to skillfully avoid the fighting by using Krishna consciousness as an excuse. But as a sincere student, he placed the matter before his master and questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. In other words, Lord Krishna elaborately explained Karma Yoga or work in Krishna consciousness in this chapter. So, this is the context where Arjuna is asking this question, and now Krishna will start replying. And this entire chapter is titled as Karma Yoga. Prabhuji, you want to add something?
In the lecture, Prabhupada, on this verse, so Arjuna is thinking of changing his position. Prabhupada mentions that so in Krishna consciousness, we don't have to change our position. We can remain where we are. It's Tane Stita Shruti Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that. So wherever you are, you just be situated there. All we can do is, we can try and do is associate with pure devotees and hear from them. And then whatever, so it's not inertia like Prabhuji was saying. We can remain in our position doing what we are doing and just associate and hear. And we can achieve perfection just by doing that. Yeah. Is that way?
Okay. All right. Let's do the next verse. Vyamishreneva vyakyena
Vyamishreneva
Vyakena
buddhim mohaya siva me
buddhim moya
Yes,
tadekam vada nishchitya
Tadekam Vadanishchitya
yena shreyoham apnuya.
Yena
Yena
Shreyoham
Shreyoham
Yeah.
Anyone would like to read the translation?
Yes, may I?
Yes, please.
My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me.
So again, Arjuna is continuing that my intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. The same. One side you're asking to fight, the other side you're asking to keep the abominable activities away with intelligence. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me. Right? This is the same kind of question Arjuna asks in the beginning of 5th chapter also. And the 5th chapter is also titled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So Krishna is going to re-explain this much more in detail in the 5th chapter also. Let's read the purport. In the previous chapter, as prelude to the Bhagavad Gita, many different paths were explained, such as Sankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, control of senses by intelligence, work without fruit of desires, and position of the neophyte. This was all presented unsystematically. So Krishna in the second chapter is called the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because Krishna talks of all these things. He talks of Sankhya, Buddhi Yoga, Karma Yoga. He talks of the position of the neophyte. So here it said they were presented, one after the other, a little unsystematically in a very brief way. A more organized outline of the path would be necessary for action and understanding. Arjuna therefore wanted to clear up these apparently confusing matters, and so that any common man could accept them without misinterpretation. Although Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjuna by any jugglery of words, Arjuna could not follow the process of Krishna consciousness, either by inertia or by active service. In other words, by his question, he is clearing path of Krishna consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery of Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna, like we already described, has been put into this illusion purposely so that he can question on our behalf and we can get clarity. So any points here?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay, moving ahead. Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Bhagavan Vacha
Lokesmin Dividha Nishtha
Lokesmin
Vedam
Vedam
Nishta
Nishtam
Pura Prokta Maya Naga
Pura
Prokta
Prokta
Maya
Maya
Naga
Naga
Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam
Jnanayogena
Jnanayogena
Sankhyanam
Sankhyanam
Karma Yogena Yoginam.
Karma
Karma Yogena
Yogena
Yoginam.
Please read the translation, someone.
Can I read?
Yes, please.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation and others by devotional service.
Right. So, Krishna already explained in the second chapter. So, he's saying of sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation, others by devotional service. So, what is empirical philosophical speculation? Anyone?
the mental speculation,
Yeah.
going from down to up by questioning.
Yes. What is that down to up? Can you elaborate?
Uh, it's like whatever we are seeing, we are trying to question the truth from it, and then trying to reduce it and simplify it to something which is closest possible element to truth, and then we proceed towards Krishna.
Right. Any other thoughts? What is empirical philosophical speculation? We've spoken about this several times, I think. Not exactly these words, but yeah.
Like one who by reading Vedas and other philosophical books try to understand God, and one who doesn't have these knowledges still in his devotional service, he just in his bhakti, he tries to go near to God. Something like that.
Yes. So, Prabhupada explains that, and in the second chapter, verse 39, Lord explained two kinds of procedures, namely Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga. Right? So, we understood how Sankhya Yoga, what is Sankhya Yoga? Anyone remembers? I think we also discussed in the ninth session Bhagavad Gita overview, Sankhya Yoga.
It's Purushan Prakriti,
Okay.
numbers, counting numbers, no?
How many?
Sankhya,
How many?
infinite.
24.
What somebody said 24? Somebody said 24? Yeah, so Sankhya Yoga is basically analyzing the material world, right? And there are 24 elements. That's the Sankhya philosophy. It's counting that, okay, uh,
Yes, sir, I said.
yes, yes. So Sankhya philosophy is, understanding the nature by literally, separating matter from spirit, right? What is matter made up of, or what is this material creation made up of? That is Sankhya. Understanding it by, okay, this is one element, this is the second element. Literally, like breaking things down, to their core and trying to understand. Like I used to do this, in my childhood. Whenever I would get a toy, instead of playing with the toy, I would actually break it open to understand how it is. And then I would try to fix it again. Of course, in most cases, I would not be able to play with the toy, but in some cases, I was successful. So I would want to try and understand what works inside. How is it running like that? So similarly, there are these philosophers who want to understand how the material world works. What is the root cause? Like we saw the banyan tree example, right? In 15th chapter, Urdhva Mula Madashakam, right? How this universe is just like an upside down banyan tree. And it's so complicated. So it is a very, very difficult process to kind of find out what is the root cause of all this. What am I supposed to do here? What is the meaning of life, right? So these are seekers who are trying to unravel the truth by analyzing things. And of course, those who are slightly more fortunate actually refer to scriptures and study the Sankhya yoga philosophy given by Lord Rishabdev, right, who's an incarnation of the Lord. And he's also mentioned in the Bhagavatam. But post that Rishabdev, there was another imposter Rishabdev. Imposter means somebody who claimed to be Rishabdev some 1,000 years back. And he gave, atheistic Sankhya philosophy that we should avoid completely, right? Which is almost denying the existence of God. So this Sankhya philosophy explains how there are these 24 elements and how apart from these there is the spirit soul, there is Paramatma. So when one understands this entire working of the material creation, how we are separate, we are individual living entities, we are separate, and how there is the Supreme Lord as well, that is when one can, intelligently, not waste his time, just serving matter, but actually serving the Lord, like that. So here Krishna is describing how the other class of men work in Krishna consciousness. So then there is the other side, which is people who are exposed to Bhagavad Gita or devotional scriptures, and who actually within a parampara take direct knowledge, just like we discussed the lift, right? So they basically immediately understand how the essence, which means to surrender to the Lord. Right? The Lord has explained also in the 39th verse that by working by the principle of Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness, one can be relieved from the bonds of action. And furthermore, there is no flaw in the process. So somebody who's studying Sankhya Yoga or analyzing things, oh, this is material, I should not do this. That is material, I should not do this. Right? On the other side, somebody who's working Krishna consciousness understands that yes, I should not do this because for my own sense gratification, but maybe I can do this because it's going to be serving the Lord and He'll be pleased, like that. So the same principle is more clearly explained in the 61st verse, that Buddhi Yoga is is to depend entirely on the Supreme. Sorry, depend entirely on the Supreme, or more specifically on Krishna. And in this way, all the senses can be brought under control very easily. Therefore, both the yogas are interdependent, as religion and philosophy. Religion without philosophy is sentiment, right? To follow certain religion, that oh, I will do this, I will do that, without any understanding, without knowing the reason why I should do this, just becomes like rituals, or just becomes some sentimental thing, right? Without any spirit, without knowing the spirit behind a ritual, it is just a ritual. It's not spiritual. Or without, understanding why we should do this intelligently, sometimes just becomes something emotional. Here, out of emotion, I'm just doing this. It's just some random sentiment, or sometimes fanaticism. While philosophy without religion is mental speculation, just some dry philosophy without any practice. Religion sometimes can also mean a practice, right? So without any practice, any cultivation, or any culture, just having some philosophy, just talking big, not doing anything, right? It's just mental speculation. Right? So the ultimate goal is Krishna, because the philosophers are also sincerely searching after absolute truth. Come in the end to Krishna consciousness. And people can spend lifetimes, right? Socrates, Aristotle, so many others, they are analyzing, their gyanis, with their intelligence, they are analyzing how things are not working for people who are struggling hard to maintain themselves. How there should be an ideal society. They talked about the ideal society, but they couldn't practically realize it or see that society in action, right? Or they just dreamed about it, right? So it's very rare, and they spent a lifetime trying to do this analysis, trying to come to their conclusions or philosophies, right? In fact, these are modern day munis. Munis means somebody who does manan. Manan means creative speculation. So we also read about Stitadir Muni, right, sometime back. What is a Stitadir Muni? Stitadir Muni is somebody. So a Muni is called Muni till the time he has some different philosophy than the other person. Otherwise, he is not to be called a Muni in the strict sense of term. Muni means he has to have some different take on things, right? Something different. So every Muni will have his own philosophy. But a Stitadir Muni is someone who is situated at the lotus feet of Krishna, and he's fixed, on the words of the Lord, like that. So these are, in one sense, munis, all these philosophers whom we studied, right? Some who's fortunate can come ultimately to the end of Krishna consciousness. Of course, those who still could not, they will continue their search in the next life also, because of their desire to search after absolute truth. And by Krishna's grace or some devotee's grace, they might end up being exposed to Krishna consciousness. So the indirect process of philosophical speculation by which gradually one may come to the point of Krishna consciousness, and the other process is directly connecting everything with Krishna in Krishna consciousness. So one is a direct process, the other is a very, very gradual, slow process and can take lifetimes. Of these two, the path of Krishna consciousness is better because it does not depend on purifying the senses by philosophical process. So when somebody goes through this philosophical process in search of the absolute truth, and he may not be really rooting or looking for God as such, but he just wants to find what is the reality. So you will find such persons also, by going through this process, get purified in their habits, right? Like Darwin, he was a vegetarian. When Aristotle and Socrates talked about the ideal world, they also try to follow certain things in their own life, by being truthful, being honest, being upfront, etc. So and you find their philosophy is also having all these attributes, right? So in the process, they get purified. So and their intelligence or their understanding deepens the more and more they get purified in their habits, right? But Krishna consciousness is itself the purifying process, and by the direct method of devotional service, it is simultaneously easy and sublime. So in Krishna consciousness, once you start, it is said that you will come to the end by hook or crook. In some, even if you try to give it up in between, it might take more time, some more lifetime, but you'll reach the ultimate end, that is for sure. Why? Because once you approach Krishna, he doesn't leave you unless you do something really terrible. He doesn't leave you, right? If you do some Vaishnava aparadh, then of course that's a different story. So coming in touch of Krishna, with Krishna is so purifying, and we are directly associating with Krishna just by chanting his holy name. When you're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So you are immediately, without a delay of a second, in touch with Krishna, because Krishna is now dancing on your tongue when you're chanting the holy names of Krishna. It is said when devotees are discussing about Krishna, right? Now, what is that Sloka, Prabhu? I don't live in Vaikuntha. I don't live in the heart of the yogis who are trying to capture me. I don't live, in people where they're performing austerities. But I am there where my devotees are, glorifying me, discussing about me like that, right? So Krishna is there when you just hear about him. Like right now, also when we are discussing, actually Krishna is there. He's present with all of us, right? Actually, he's present always as Paramatma, but he's Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan is also present just when we are also discussing about him, because he loves to hear about himself. Just like me, when somebody is discussing and you hear your name in that discussion, although you may be busy doing whatever, immediately your antenna is on. Somebody is talking about me, and you go there and you try to understand what are they talking about me. So we get this quality from Krishna. So Krishna also, is immediately present where uh, talks about him are on. His glorification is on. Bro, any other points you want to add?
Which is just this. So where Prabhupada explains in the purport about religion without philosophy and philosophy without religion.
Hmm.
So in the lecture, Prabhupada mentions that so we must practice religion, but it should be done with a proper philosophical understanding about why we are doing what we are doing. The problem today is that we do a lot of rituals and performances, and we probably learned from our, parents, ancestors, but we do not know why it is done. So it's blindly done, and therefore people do not believe in it. So so much because we do not know why we are doing what we are doing, but everything has a reason. So if we are just following religion without understanding why it's done, it's like, as Prabhupada mentions here, it's just sentiment. Then it becomes like sentimental, uh, only for the sake of it. And Prabhupada gives the example of how, in the Bible it said that, God created this universe. But in the Bhagavatam it explains further how the creation, actually came about. How the different elements of material nature, they came about. So that is very detailed explained. So it's understanding as God created the universe and then how it was created. Similarly, I was today, reading one quote of His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj. So very nicely, he says that in India, if you ask your ancestors, if a saintly person in India is asked, who are your ancestors? Then, he'll say that I'm coming from this Gotra, Kashyap Gotra, or I'm a descendant of Shandilya. So they'll say that, we are coming in this lineage, starting from, Kashyap Muni or Shandilya, some sage like that. Everyone has a Gotra in the family. But if you ask a scientist, who are your ancestors? They'll say our ancestors are monkeys. So, and then Maharaj says that, this is, what we are doing today. We're blindly accepting, what is being presented to us because it's put in the textbooks. And so we do not know what is it that we are following because we never get into the philosophical understanding of it. So although in tradition it's there, if we just try and find out everything, why everything is done, if the smallest of rituals, there is a reason behind it, a very scientific reason. Then it's like a proper balance. Otherwise, in future, it'll just be so that already it's lost. We do not know. If we ask our parents or grandparents that why are these things done, they'll have no answer probably. It's rare to see that they will be able to explain why things are done. So yeah, that is just one point I wanted to add. What's lecture?
Okay. Okay, moving ahead. Na karmanam anarambhan
Na karmanam nardhan
naishkarmyam purusho shnute
naishkarma
Purushoshrute
Sute
na cha sannyasnad eva
nacha
Deva
sannyasina
siddhim samadhi gacchati.
Siddhim
Siddhi
Samadhi.
Someone would like to read the translation?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll read it. Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction. Nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection.
Right. So basically, Krishna is saying that not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction. So it's not that I won't do anything and therefore I won't have any reaction. That's the path of what Mayavadis normally take, right? Their process neti neti, just not this, not this. I won't do this. I won't do this. I won't do this. They'll think, oh, this is this is material. Let me not do this. Like I was giving the example earlier. So Krishna is describing not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. Right. So I'll just give you a quick example, and then we'll get into the purport. So there's a small boy and he's doing a lot of masti, a lot of mischievous activities, and he's breaking open things, and he's shouting, yelling, you know, uh, trying to with a stick trying to beat his bed or something. I don't know. So he's doing a lot of things, and the mother, who's basically busy, she's she's irritated with the kind of behavior this boy is having. So immediately goes and say, "Hey, keep quiet! Why are you doing this?" And she yells at him and asks him to keep quiet with fingers on his lips, stand in a corner as a punishment, right? Stand in the corner, keep your fingers on his lips. So in fact, funny part, my nieces, my sister, she gives such punishment to my nieces, like, and they have a corner called the silent corner in the house. So yeah, anyways, so this boy, he basically with finger on his lips, he's now standing, afraid of the mother, standing in that corner. And then the mother goes, and she continues with her work and cooking. 2 hours later, she returns to check on the boy, and the boy is still standing like this in that corner. What will be the mother's reaction? I think that should be easy.
She feels
She,
guilty.
Sorry?
She feels sorry and guilty.
She'll feel sorry and guilty. What will she say to the child?
Why are you standing like this?
Why are you standing like this?
Yeah.
He's
And
an obedient child.
okay, what else? Anyone else?
This time I'm leaving you, next time I won't. I'll again punish you.
After 2 hours, if the child is standing like that, you'll say this?
As in, maybe if say sorry and don't repeat your things. That way can convince the child.
That's pretty heavy.
The child should self-realize that why he's punished.
Okay. Anyone else?
I always explain my daughter why I'm punishing her. Then she says, yes, I didn't do my work and all that. I kept my room not clean. I didn't pick up my books.
But this child already obeyed what the mother said, right?
Okay.
With a finger on his lips, he was standing for 2 hours, right? And when the mother is back, he's still there in the same position.
I would go and hug the child and apologize because I'm the mother, right? How could I give such a heavy punishment to the child? I would apologize.
Anyone
Yeah, I
else?
think same.
Wow, it's
Apologize.
getting emotional right now. Anybody else? What would be a logical reaction to that?
astonished,
Okay. And what would
astonished
be
to see the child
Yeah.
following her instruction.
It's more of how obedient.
okay? But what would you expect the child to do? What would you say? What next to do?
That this does not occur again.
Okay. Anything else?
We
It
should
was for his betterment.
we can free the child that its punishment is over. Come have food and we can free the
Exactly.
child.
Move forward, move.
Right.
You
So
can move.
when the child was creating a nuisance, the mother gave him punishment. What was the purpose of the punishment?
Some learning, right? Everything, there is a learning everywhere.
Okay. And when she asked him to keep quiet because he was shouting, right? What is the purpose?
To discipline him.
Okay, fine. So
No, that she gets some relief. Maybe that's why she punished.
the purpose, yeah, I think we can hear in the background also. Okay.
Some respect also.
Yeah. So the purpose here is that okay, don't do something negative. Don't break things. Don't just yell and screech. But the purpose not so that the purpose not to make the child shut. Is there like this 2 hours? Is that the purpose? No. The mother will be coming in surprise. Arey, why are you still standing like this? Go do something constructive. You know, do your science project, or even if you want to play something nice which actually improves your brain, or gives you some nice physical strength. So do something positive. Correct. That is the ultimate goal. Instead of doing something negative, right? When the child was performing something negative, immediately, hey, keep quiet, don't shout, or don't do this, right? Immediately the instruction comes, don't do this or keep shut. That is so that you stop doing that activity, but it doesn't mean that you should remain shut or you should not do anything. It's not inertia, it's not remaining shut. Rather, the expectation is be engaged in something positive. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Similarly, right? So renunciation is not the ultimate end, right? And therefore, Krishna is saying, not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. So renunciation is not our goal. Yes, we have to renounce, but it's not the ultimate end. It is not why we are doing things. It's only for becoming renounced. Renounced is one of the means for us to be attached to Krishna. So we give up attachment to material things. At the same time, we attach ourselves to Krishna. Attachment to Krishna is the real goal. And as and when you attach to Krishna more and more, automatically you will be more and more renounced. The more and more you develop taste in chanting, hearing, serving, engaging yourself in practical service for Krishna, the more and more you lose taste for, to performing material activities. And not by that I don't mean that you stop, your basic activities or stop going to office. No, you might still continue doing that, but with a shift in consciousness that I'm doing this for the Lord. And not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction. This also can be explained in a detailed way that you have these Mauni Babas with like a patti on their mouth, and I won't speak because so this is basically trying to renounce or abstain from things. God has actually given you tongue to use it properly, positively, right? So from negative, they're trying to come to zero, right, by abstaining from speaking altogether. But the tongue is given as a tool for you to use so that you can actually use it for glorifying the Lord, talking about Him with other people, chanting His glories, chanting His holy name, right? So there's a positive side of things as well, not that we just, stay on zero like that. Sometimes people go to this, Vipassana camps, you're thrown into a room and you're asked to remain quiet, and the guy is inside. I know there are two friends of mine who went. They were literally frustrated inside, although the experience was also very, they felt peace and calm, etc. Also, but it was very, because it was for so many days, they were also very frustrated. Some people, and this person said, most people sneak in their mobile phones. So because there will be this urge to speak because God has given you tongue to use it. Of course, you feel relief and peace because you were doing nonsense earlier. You were speaking all garbage earlier. Now that you are not doing that, you will feel some relief and peace, of course. So the experience will be nice and all of that. Yes, but the real use of the tongue is to actually glorify the Lord. If you can directly get to that, you don't need to go through these 7, 10 days, 20 days camp to torture yourself into finding some peace, essentially. And even peace is not our real goal, right? Peace is a byproduct at the end of the day. When you are in Krishna consciousness, what is the meaning of just being peaceful? Okay, I'm peaceful. Just
Can you
remaining
repeat your
quiet.
question again?
No thought.
Can you repeat the question?
No, the question, there was no question. I was just demonstrating, I'm peaceful and I remain shut. Right? What is the point of that? Right? So, peace is not the ultimate goal. Of course, peace is necessary to be happy, right? You cannot be disturbed by hundreds of things and, then try to be happy. So, yes, peace is important so that you're not disturbed by anything external, but beyond peace also, there is, bliss, which you experience when you interact with devotees, when you actually have loving exchanges with Krishna, and Krishna reciprocates. So, that is the real goal, right? And not merely by abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reactions. So, even if you're not doing anything, even if you decide, oh, from today I won't do anything, right? I won't talk, so I hurt anyone, etc. Or I won't, do these, this work because it's connected to some company which is into mining, which is into, human trafficking, etc. I mean, in some way or the other, we are connected to very, very big organizations who are into all kinds of ugra karmas, right? Also, right? So at no point in time you can escape doing sin in one sense, right? Because even merely breathing, you're killing so many germs. Just by cooking, so many microorganisms are killed, right? The very process of fermentation, etc., also, means some living entities actually died, right, in the process. So, and by walking on the street, you're actually killing insects unknowingly. So, by our very existence, we are doing some or the other sinful activities. By our very existence, cannot avoid it. Doesn't give you license to do bigger sinful activities, right? You'll be heavily punished for that. because unknowingly is one thing, knowingly is worst, right? So then what to do, right? So merely abstaining won't help, right? You decide, oh, I won't do anything and I'll be free from sin. That is not possible. So what you need to do is positive activity, right? The same act of cooking. I give this example every time, but the most relevant example. The same act of cooking, right, where there are germs which are killed just by lighting that fire. But the same act of cooking, when offered to Krishna, right, becomes prasadam. So all the living entities involved in that process, they're elevated immediately. Somebody who had to go through the cycle of 8.4 million species, some microorganism, or even the plant from which the vegetable has come, that becomes they actually get a jump from wherever they are into a human form of life, just because something of theirs were used in service of the Lord. So everybody is benefited, even the plants, the living entities, organisms, and even us who eat that prasad, or if you distribute prasad, everybody is benefited spiritually, and there is spiritual advancement immediately. So even vegetarianism is not the ultimate goal, because you're killing plants some way or the other, or you're stealing, fruits, flowers, etc. from the plants at the end of the day. So there is some karma involved there as well. So the real goal is to eat only Krishna Prasad. And in fact, I think on 31st of July, yes, that's also Saturday. So next to next Saturday, right? We were in the very, very special speaker, already booked him. So he will specifically be talking about, as people living in our own houses, what can we do? How can we serve the Lord? Right? And it's going to be a very, very interesting session. How practically we can start serving the Lord. Right? Okay, let's read this. The renounced order of life can be accepted when one has been purified by discharge of prescribed forms of duties, which are laid down just to purify the heart of materialistic men. So even this gradual process of varnashram, right, prescribed duties, they are also set in a way, or the rules and regulations are set in a way that gradually one is purified over a period of time, right? And once one has gone through all of that, then he is ready for sannyas. Once there is natural renunciation, step by step, gradual and natural renunciation that has come in the heart, then one can take the sannyas order of life, not whimsically jump to, oh, today I heard a Bhagavad Gita class, let me go to the forest. No, right? So without purification, one cannot attain success by abruptly adopting the fourth order of life, sannyas. According to the empirical philosophers, simply by adopting sannyas or retiring from fruitive activities, one can at once become as good as Narayan, right? Which means one can become completely pure. But Lord Krishna does not approve of this. But Lord Krishna does not approve this principle. Sorry, did I read something wrong? According to the empirical philosopher, simply by adopting sannyas or retiring from fruitive activities, one can at once become as good as Narayan. But the Lord does not approve this principle. Without purification of heart, sannyas is simply a disturbance to the social order. On the other hand, if someone takes to the transcendental service of the Lord, even without discharging his prescribed duties, whatever he may be able to advance in the cause is accepted by the Lord as Buddhi Yoga. Swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. Even a slight performance of such principle enables one to overcome great difficulties. So even if somebody does little bit of devotional service, he is able to advance, whereas somebody who's randomly taking sannyas and thinking, oh, I'm now as good as Narayan, so Krishna doesn't approve of that. And in fact, he will be a disturbance in the society and to himself also. Prabhu, any other points you want to add?
That point of sannyas, so Prabhupada mentions that he also took sannyas, but because he could do that because he was trained by under the guidance of his spiritual master and through brahmacharya, grihastha, and then he could do it. So without such training or purification, if one just, as Prabhuji was mentioning, takes to sannyas, it's only going to be disturbance. Nor should one take to it thinking that this world is so much trouble outside. Working outside is such a pain. Therefore, just to give it up, I'll take sannyas and go maybe join somewhere. that is not the motive behind taking to renunciation. So as Prabhuji was explaining, the positive side has to be there. So imagine if someone actually did that, getting frustrated with life, just ran away somewhere. It's not going to actually help in any way, because he'll not be able to remain peaceful, because by nature the living entity is, we're going to see in the next verse, like active. So unless the heart is purified and attached to Krishna, that renunciation actually has no meaning in one sense.
Yeah, so the mind needs engagement at all points in time, right? Either it can be engaged positively or negatively. If it's not engaged positively, it will fall back to the negative, right? So yeah, okay. It's 12:18. So we'll do this one and then we'll stop. I think we probably have some breakout sessions also. Nahi kaschichanam api
Nahi
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 kaschichanam
kaschanamapi
api
jatu tishtati akarmakrit
jatu
jatu
तिष्ठति
tishtati
karmakrit
अकर्मकृत्
karyate hi avashah karma
karyate hi
hi avasha
karma
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 sarva prakriti jayar gunai.
sarva
sarva
prakriti
prakriti
jay
jay
prakriti
gunai.
gunai.
jai gunai.
Okay. Anyone want to read the translation?
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment.
Yeah. So, like Prabhuji was saying, right? Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. And Prabhupada he writes, it is not question of embodied life, but it is the nature of the soul to be always active. Without presence of spirit soul, the material body cannot move. The body is only a dead vehicle to be worked by the spirit soul, which is always active and cannot stop even for a moment. As such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in good work of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will be engaged in occupation dictated by illusory energy. So either you are controlled by Maya, either you work or serve Maya, right? We have to serve, like we discussed this so many times. We have to serve, right? We have to work and we have to serve. The nature of the soul is to love and serve. So either we repose our loving propensity and serving propensity in service of Maya, right? Who's going to kick us, right? Maya's job is to kick us in the face, right? Every time, and we are so foolish, right? Just like the donkey example is given. So, when the male donkey wants to mate with the female donkey, right? He goes behind, and the female donkey kicks the male donkey on his face. And this male donkey, even after having repeated kicks, he wants to go there, right? So that is like, Maya is kicking us harder and harder. So actually, Maya Devi is one of the servants of Krishna. She has two jobs. She has actually one primary job. She is like a, you know she's like a jail Durga, right? I was explaining this the other day. She's the jailer of the fortress, and her duty is to only let out those people who are eligible to be let out. She acts like a filtration system, right? No impurities should get into the spiritual world. Right? That's her job. So she ensures that nobody who's unqualified can actually, because otherwise, see, if everybody in the spiritual world, they are completely the center of the spiritual world is Lord Shri Krishna, right? And everybody is working or acting or serving in ways so that they can please Krishna together in cooperation also and individually as well. If you suddenly go there where you have so many, and we ask questions, why can't Krishna take me, in the spiritual kingdom immediately, right? Why do I have to go through all of this? Sometimes we may question like that. So if you go there, imagine everybody else's desire is so fine tuned or completely in synergy for serving the Lord, and you are the odd man out, right? Wanting something for yourself and not for Krishna, like that. So, and actually, the devotees, they enjoy so much more in the spiritual world. The devotees enjoy more than Krishna in serving Krishna. So much so that Krishna is wondering, I am supposed to be the bhokta, I am the purusha, I am the enjoyer, right? We have a chapter called the nature enjoyer and what was the last thing? Yeah, three modes like that. So I am the purusha, I am the enjoyer, I am supposed to be enjoying, but my devotees are enjoying more than me. What is this enjoyment? And what is it about me that they're enjoying so much? And specifically Srimati Radharani, she is the topmost devotee, and her bliss is beyond me. Right? So Krishna, thinking like that, actually accepted the mood of Srimati Radharani and her color, and came down as his own devotee in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just to experience what she experiences, what bliss Radharani experiences. He wanted to experience as well. So he came down as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? So we'll be the odd man out if we are suddenly transferred there. So Maya Devi has this job of not, and she will test. Right, she will test at all points in time. So one of her work is to filter and test. The other work also is to give us kicks and help us realize that what are we doing, we're rotting here. Right. So if we don't learn the right way, we learn the hard way. Right, and that comes in forms of disease, that comes in forms of certain episodes or events in our life which completely shakes us up. What am I doing? Right, I'm just running after trying to enjoy more and more, but I'm repeatedly being kicked, or I'm actually facing more and more adversity. There are so many people who would relate that how they were running after things and suddenly certain event happened and their whole perspective to life changed. So at the end of the day, she is also a devotee of the Lord. So she also wants to wake people up through her kicks, right? So if somebody is not taking the good instruction from the Lord directly through Bhagavad Gita or from his devotees, Maya Devi also performs this task of purifying us by giving us bigger and bigger kicks. ठीक है, normally नहीं समझा, चलो एक बुखार दे दो. वहाँ पे भी नहीं समझा, चलो even bigger kick. And therefore, when you try to exploit the material nature more and more, the heavier and heavier results, right? Yeah. You want to enjoy unrestricted sex, there is AIDS, right? You want to eat uncontrollably, there is diabetes, right? So at every point in time or every aspect of life, you will find this. If you try to do too much, there is a disease or something waiting for you. Okay, so yeah. Yes, anyone wants to say something?
So I have a question.
Yes.
Sir, what is the difference between Gyan Yoga and Buddhi Yoga?
Yeah, Gyan Yoga is trying to understand the Lord through empirical knowledge, through philosophical speculation, right? Sankhya Yoga is part of Gyan Yoga in one sense. A higher level of Gyan Yoga is also what we are doing. So Bhakti basically is the superset which includes all the subsets. When you're performing Bhakti, you're also doing Gyan Yoga like we're discussing Bhagavad Gita, right? You're also doing Karma Yoga, you're going to your work or you're doing some activity and you're offering it to the Lord, right? You're also doing direct devotional service by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, all the 9 angas of devotional service that we studied, right? So Bhakti Yoga, like I said, is a superset. Apart from that, Gyan Yoga also means somebody who's without any, without any connection to any devotee, is trying to study the Vedanta Sutras or Shastras like that, trying to understand who's God, or even a lower level, that somebody who's trying to understand how the material nature works and how who's the ultimate cause, what is the ultimate cause, like that. So they're trying to search after the truth, but they are not yet exposed to the scriptures or to devotees like that. Does that answer your question?
So what is Buddhi Yoga then?
Buddhi Yoga, Krishna explains, Buddhi Yoga is working with intelligence in Krishna consciousness. So here Prabhupada and Krishna translates Buddhi Yoga as working in Krishna consciousness. Right? So using your intelligence, and that's the confusion Arjuna also had. Right? You're asking me to work with, you're asking me to use my intelligence and avoid abominable activities. Should I stop working? Should I just, creatively speculate or, go and read some scriptures in some forest? Right? So Krishna is saying, no, this is Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means to act in Krishna consciousness using your intelligence. Right? With our intelligence, we understand, okay, this is material activity, this is meant for sense gratification, this action in Krishna consciousness, I should do this, I should accept whatever is favorable for Krishna consciousness, reject the unfavorable. like that. With intelligence, I should surrender unto my spiritual master and take instruction, like Arjuna surrendered to Krishna. With intelligence, I should, understand if the spiritual master is giving me instruction, how should I, carry out that instruction most efficiently, right? And how can I do it very, very nicely? How can I engage my mind and senses more and more in Krishna's service? There is where you use your intelligence. In fact, Prabhupada said, uh, you know, uh, once he was, I think, in which temple? So I'm forgetting the temple, but he was actually visiting a particular temple in the morning. He saw Yamuna Mataji chanting on her japa very, very nicely, and Prabhupada appreciated. Oh, thank you so much. You're chanting so nicely. And he addressed the other devotees and he said, you should use all your intelligence to chant Hare Krishna nicely. Now, someone may think, chanting Hare Krishna, Prabhupada has clearly said that you chant Hare Krishna, no other activity, you just chant loudly and hear nicely. That is it. How do you use intelligence in this? So, Prabhupada explained that you should use your intelligence to manage your entire day in such a way that you can sleep on time, you can get up early in the morning, you manage your work, use all your intelligence to manage your work in the day in such a way that you're not disturbed when you're going to sleep, or you're sleeping on time, you're getting up early in the morning, and then you're peacefully able to chant, focus on the focus on hearing the holy names of the Lord. That's how you use your intelligence to chant. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. So, one more thing is Buddhi Yoga comes under the types of yoga ladder.
Yeah, Buddhi Yoga is Bhakti Yoga itself, action in Krishna consciousness. Okay. So,
Thank you, sir.
in contact with material energy, spirit soul acquires material modes, and to purify the soul, such affinities, it is necessary to engage in prescribed duties enjoined in the Shastras. But if the soul engaged in his natural function of Krishna consciousness, whatever he is able to do is good for him. Right? I'll quickly jump to the. If someone takes to Krishna consciousness, even though he may not follow prescribed duties in Shastras or execute the devotional service properly, even though he may fall down from the standards, there is no loss or evil for him. But if he carries out all injunctions for purification in Shastras, what does it avail him if he is not Krishna conscious? Very, very important. So, if somebody is following the Varnashram Dharma or other instructions in the scriptures very, very nicely, but doesn't come to the point of Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada is writing, what is the use, right? And if someone fails to perform the prescribed duties and tries to do some Krishna conscious activities or devotional service, and is not able to do it even properly, and even from there he falls down from the standards, still there is no loss or evil for him. The little advancement that he would have got, right? Swalpamapa yasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat, we read, right? Even that little advancement can save him from the greatest danger. So the purificatory process is necessary for reaching this point of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, sannyas or any purificatory process is to help to reach the ultimate goal of becoming Krishna conscious, without which everything is considered a failure. So, if you have very high education, very good knowledge of Shastras, even if you memorize Bhagavad Gita, front and back to front, right? Somebody is expert in reciting shlokas, everything in his memory. But if he doesn't develop that love for the Lord, right, or is not motivated to serve Krishna, right, what is the use? Right? That is what is being talked about here. So even if you do all the purificatory process, ultimately you have to come to the point of Krishna consciousness. If you don't, then it's of no use in one sense. But even if somebody with all bad qualities, not being able to do prescribed duties, even one falls down from devotional service also, still there is no loss, because he made even this much progress that Krishna sees, oh, he did this much. He is immediately noticed by Krishna. And in the next life, he continues from the point where he left. Gets a chance. All right, I'll stop here. It's already 12:30. So, yeah, I'm not sure Prabhu, any thought on if we need to get into some breakout rooms? If you have any particular topic, or should we end here and end here with questions and reflections?
Uh, if there are any questions, we can see. If not, then we can maybe go for breakout.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I think what we can, yeah, let's hear if there are any questions or any reflections. Reflection is something that you heard, you thought it made sense, or you're taking back from the class, something that you liked. That is reflection. Or yeah,
General question: how long does it the Gita conversation between Lord Arjun and Lord Krishna, how much time it was going on, for how long it was going on?
yeah, it was two muhurtas as described, and two muhurtas is anywhere between 45 minutes to maybe 1.5 hours, like that. 45 to 90 minutes.
This entire Gita,
Yeah,
45 minutes.
between 45 minutes to 90 minutes.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah, it's a quick conversation. Even if you try to recite, at a good pace, all the shlokas,
Yeah.
it will take you somewhere around 45 minutes or something. Yeah. At a very good pace, huh? Not like we are doing. At a very good pace, if you recite, it will take you somewhere around 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or reflections, anyone?
So we have to lead life in Krishna consciousness.
Sorry?
This is we have to lead life in Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
Sometimes when people are sick,
Hmm.
they pray to God and all, but once they are all right, then they forget all this.
Right.
So is that prayer also counted as devotion or something, or it is just fake?
No, so like I said, Maya Devi also kicks us to remind us,
Yes.
right? And sometimes, and
Yes.
those who they forget Krishna, and when they're happy or in good times, they don't care about God, right? They need to be ready for more and more kicks. So yeah, to remind, because that's one of the jobs of Maya Devi as well, right? So if you want to save yourself from some kicks, right, better we take to the process more seriously earlier, right? And basically, understand. Like I said, some people they learn by hearing, others they learn by seeing others. Even further, some people they learn by their own experience, and some even after experience they don't learn.
Yes,
So
and some don't want to learn.
yeah, so we need to figure, do we need to be first class, second class, third class, or fourth class?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Pujit, you said the meaning of Hare Krishna was to engage me in your service, is it?
Yes.
The meaning of Hare?
Yes. So Hare is the energy of the Lord. We are addressing Hara or Srimati Radharani as Hare, right? When you're addressing someone like that. So Hare is Srimati Radharani, the energy of the Lord, and Krishna, Ram, is the names of the Lord. So Ram comes from the root word Raman. Raman means the enjoyer, right? One who, Raman te iti Raman. So one who enjoys. So Krishna, who basically enjoys. Radha Raman is also one of the names of Krishna. So in one sense, Ram also means Krishna because he's the one who's enjoying Raman, right? Like that. So Ram may also mean Lord Ram, may also mean Krishna, may also mean Balaram. It's okay, like that.
I have one
Prabhuji,
more question. Sorry.
yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
While we were reading Prabhupada's small books,
Hmm.
a shlok from chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita was there, where it meant like if one dies when the sun is in north hemisphere,
Correct.
he is liberated.
Yes.
Yeah, while one
So
leaves
yogis,
his body.
yeah. So
Can you explain?
there are different deities of different times, right? There are 33 crore demigods, and even the specific muhurta has a particular deity, the specific position of the sun. There are 10 directions. For each direction, there is a deity. Deity means there is a demigod. right? So and they have some specific characteristic and powers, and of course, they have a specific result of things that are done during that point in time, like that. So the yogis, they actually understand all of these things, and they control their senses, they control their breath in particular, to decide, at what time should they leave their body. So they know that, Uttarayan is when the sun is traveling north. That is the daytime for the demigods, right? Our 6 months is 12 hours for the demigods, and their night is, the next 6 months, like that. So from Makar Sankranti onwards is the daytime for the demigods, 14th of Jan, right? So from there, 6 months is daytime, and then the following 6 months is the night time. So anyone who's leaving the body in the Uttarayan, they have a higher destination, and a yogi, if he is able to control his breath, so our breaths are counted. Number of breaths that we take are counted. So yogis are controlling their breath, and that's how they are elongating their lives also. And they can actually decide to leave their body, or wait, or control their breath, wait for some time, and leave their body in a more auspicious time, surrounding, when there is a particular deity who's more predominant, like that, so that they are actually liberated in most in the best case they are liberated, or at least they go to heaven, or higher planets, like that. Of course, by the dint of their own renunciation, their own practice of yoga, there is that yoga bal as well. Plus, using that, they also leave at an auspicious time, which carries them, to the higher planetary systems, or even liberations at time. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
Sir, what are demigods?
Okay, so who asked the question actually? Let me. Sorry, I
Sir,
will stop sharing.
Rima Chabria.
Were you there in the 6-day course, 9-day Bhagavad Gita course, or?
Yes, sir, I was there.
Okay.
Maybe I missed that point. I don't
No
know.
problem. Yeah, no problem. So demigods are powerful managers of the universe.
Okay.
And there is only one Supreme Lord, who's Krishna. Not because I am saying, because the scriptures are describing. Ekala Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabha Bhritya, right? Others are all servants of Lord Krishna. And this is confirmed by Lord Brahma himself. He says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. Lord Shiva himself is also declaring Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param.
So all the demigods also pray to Lord Krishna.
Sorry?
All the demigods also pray to Lord Krishna.
Correct. Right? So, when Kamsa and other, demons, they were creating havoc. All the Mother Earth, in the form of a cow, approached Lord Brahma to, be relieved of so many demons that were there on the planet at that point in time. There was, Bhaumasura, there was Kamsa, there was Jarasan. So many powerful demons were there. So Mother Earth approached in the form. She took a form of a cow and approached Brahma, and then Brahma, along with Mother Earth and all the demigods, they went to Shir Sagar to pray to Lord Vishnu, so that he can come and deliver Mother Earth, like that. And then Lord Vishnu, they were offering prayers called Purusha Shukta, right? And but Lord Vishnu did not reveal himself there. Then Brahma himself sat in meditation, and the message was transmitted from Lord Krishna to Brahma's heart that yes, I will be soon coming, and I'll be taking birth, or I'll be, taking my avatar, or descending as Lord Krishna, my original form in Vrindavan, in the Mathura region, like that, in the Yadukula. So then Brahma, he actually announced to all the demigods, and all the demigods were so jubilant, right? And they were instructed to also take birth to assist the Lord in his pastimes. So even many demigods at that point in time, they took birth as, some of the coward men, some of the coward boys, like that.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, now I have a question.
Yes.
This Bhagavad Gita was written 5,000 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. So before that, how it was explained to Manu or to Brahma, Manu, and that Sampradaya?
So all the Vedas, not just Bhagavad Gita, were orally preserved earlier.
Okay.
Earlier, people were Shrutidhar. Shrutidhar means you hear once and they would remember. Just by once hearing from the Guru, they would remember.
Okay, but then that time there was no Mahabharat. Arjun was not there.
Yeah, so Ramayana was written even before Ramayana happened. Valmiki wrote Ramayana even before Ramayana could take place.
Okay.
So these sages, it's and actually, if you see the pastimes of the Lord, they're eternal. They're happening in some other universe, and they've also happened in previous kalpas. Kalpas are previous days of Brahma. One
Yes.
day of Brahma, we know 6.4 billion years. So
Mhm.
the Lord's pastimes they repeat itself, and with newer and newer flavors, of course. So Valmiki already had. Can others be on mute for? Yeah. So Valmiki already had this divine inspiration uh, through which he actually started writing, Ramayana like that. And Krishna is talking about the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, which doesn't need Mahabharata to happen, right? Krishna is giving the science of soul. He's giving what is Karma Yoga, what is Gyan Yoga, what is Bhakti Yoga. The same science was delivered to Sun God, from him to Manu to Ikshvaku, like that. And Arjuna is also an eternal friend of Krishna. Krishna is also saying, "You were also there, but you don't remember all your births, but I remember."
Yes, I think you discussed this in the 3-day course long back.
Yes,
There
yes,
was a chart also.
correct.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, I remember now. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right. Are there any other questions or any reflections? If not, then we'll end with a short kirtan, 5-minute kirtan.
Yes.
Okay. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
हरे
Hare
राम
Rama,
राम
Rama
Rama
राम
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare,
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्णा
Krishna,
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare,
हरे
Hare
रामा
Rama,
हरे रामा राम
Rama
रामा
Rama,
हरे हरे
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare.
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Hare